Now, I want to show you something. These are my pictures. If you're not on YouTube and you're listening, I'm showing a script from Groundhog Day. This is one of my favorite movies. I could watch it over and over again. This is an original script. I have a collection of all sorts of crazy stuff. This is one of them. It was a gift to me from my sister. And this script, as you can see, Columbia Pictures, if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. It's hilarious. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen how a script is set up. If you've never seen a movie script, it's plain and simple. Scene setups, you place the scene. Sometimes you date it, daytime, nighttime, sun shining, outside, wet, pouring rain, so on and so forth. Then you set it up with the scene itself, like this one. Phil enters the old library of the house. The matron of the house, Miss Lancaster, spots Phil. So you set up the scene, and then you get into the dialogue. You'll see Miss Lancaster, did you sleep well? Phil, even with emotions tacked on to it as well in between the dialogue. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, here is my crazy theory, because it actually makes sense. If you go back to this page where it lists Eric Davis meeting with Admiral Wilson, the date 10/16/02. Read the first line. Rich says to go to EG&G Special Projects Building at Greer and Paradise. Meet at 10 a.m. Don't be late. Sets the scene. Time 10:10. The Admiral is late. Arrives with 2 Navy officers in uniform. He's in suit. Now civilian in uniform. 1 full lieutenant. 1 commander, a petty officer, drives the car. The scene is set. Greetings with Admiral Wilson. We sit in his car. Everything, the stage is set. Dialogue. Thomas Wilson. Hello. The minute I saw your resume, U.S. Uniform Division's ID copy, Air Force orders, and physics paper Rich gave, I knew who you were. Eric Davis. Thomas Wilson going back and forth in these notes. Dialogue. Look at this. Who in their notes puts an interruption? Eric Davis. What was this? Thomas Wilson. Let me finish. Who puts that in a note? Now, that could be just a quirky thing that Dr. Eric does, and if so, I've never seen it before. Or is it dialogue? Is this a scene? Is this a fictionalized account of a scene in a car behind a Las Vegas building between a scientist and a retired military officer giving secrets in a movie? Are we just waiting to fill in the director and writer and producer line of what this is? Is this a segment of a movie script? Because you can't get away from it's nearly identical, albeit very amateur. Meaning it's not an exact script, but it is set up like somebody who wants to write a script. Or quite possibly a consultant. Somebody who's in the know, who knows the key players. Base it on real people. Base it on somewhat real events, or at least rumored events, and create a fictionalized story. Somebody who would be in the know, like a Dr. Eric Davis. Somebody who probably did meet through the years Will Miller and Dr. Stephen Greer and maybe even Thomas Wilson, who knows? But that he knew how to craft a story, or at least somebody working in that same arena. Now, if you don't believe me, that television looks for this, it's on right now. If you look at the History Channel and Project Blue Book, it's based on all real stories, but completely fictionalized. Dr. J. Allen Hynek, a real scientist. However, this storyline that unfolds is completely fabricated. That's television. Now, you might say, well, come on, you can't really compare a 2020 or 2019 show. Fine, I'll take you back. One of the best ones in this genre was The X-Files. I'll go on the record and say it was the best one. It was excellent. And yet entwined in The X-Files, Chris Carter put MUFON, real UFO events, real terminology and phrasing, all real elements, and sometimes I think even real people, though likely name changed, yet it was all fiction. I want to take you back to that page, this page here, the front page, the date, October 16th, 2002. And I started kind of really getting stuck on this entertainment thing. And I'll go back to the X-Files. You know what happened in 2002, earlier that same year that this letter took place? The X-Files came to a very successful end. From 1993 to 2002, that first run of series, I believe it was 9 seasons, came to an end. Episode 19 aired in May of 2002. This document was written just a few months after. Now, why is this important? I call it the next Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, here's why. This is a personal note. Now, Dog the Bounty Hunter has absolutely nothing to do with this, but I'm putting it in to tell you a very quick story about my career in television as a producer, a writer, and a director. Now, when Dog the Bounty Hunter was on the air, I was working for A&E Networks, which owns the History Channel. I had developed a couple UFO shows that sold and aired. You might remember some of them. I won't rattle them off, but it was during the UFO Files series, and created quite a few of them. And what we were doing was creating a series. And the idea was always from the network executives, even beyond A&E, was find the next Dog the Bounty Hunter. The success was so big with that show. You Reuters doing articles just on the fact that it was an amazingly rated show. Literally millions of people. So network executives were all about this. That's nothing new in television. When I was working around Dog the Bounty Hunter and this whole age, it was around 2002. TV's no different now. They're looking for the best next hit show. But what I'm saying is they started to emulate other storylines. Some where series would come to a successful end. For whatever reason, the X-Files went away. You know Fox was looking for the next X-Files. Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction ended in September of 2002, that same year. Also a successful run for Fox, 4 seasons. The premise of that show, within the course of 1 hour, 5 stories were shown. None of these stories have any logical explanation. Some of them actually occurred. You're left to decide which of these stories, if any, are fact and which are fiction. This is what was airing on television in 2002. Fictionalized stories that could or could not be true. How do you do that? Base it on real people. Now, I'm not saying that this was a script or a page from the X-Files or from Beyond Belief. I'm trying to set the stage for you to show you exactly what it was like in 2002. Also in 2002, the paranormal genre was incredibly big. This also, to anybody who has any experience in television, including those with just a little bit of common sense, if baking a pie works for you, you don't try and change the recipe. You bake that pie. And so you had a ton of paranormal related shows at their peak in 2002, either starting or doing incredibly well. Beyond with James Von Prague was one of them. That started in September of 2002 in syndication. Numerous seasons of Crossing Over with John Edward. That as well, again, paranormal genre, doing incredibly well in prime time and on syndication on a national and international level. Again, the next Dog the Bounty Hunter. Now, that is why I am not a big believer that these notes depict a secret alien program of crash retrieval and so on and so forth. Because in my mind, when you read these notes, they're not notes at all. It's a scene. Right from the setting of the stage to the time to the location to interruptions when one character interrupts the other. It's an interesting correlation between something that we want to be true, but is potentially not. And if that date of 2012, if that date in 2002 is to be believed, and that is when these were written, when you look at entertainment and you look at Fox Television, Fox Networks, and what shows which were so successful were coming to the end, you have to ask yourself, was somebody involved in this story that wanted to be a television producer? Was a television producer involved in this story and enlisted the help of one of these key players to write a scene for an X-Files or for a Beyond Belief type series? In my mind, that makes more sense than Admiral Thomas Wilson sitting in the backseat of a car or whatever behind a building in Las Vegas saying adios to his security oath to talk to Dr. Eric Davis in the hopes that the guy would never spill the beans on what he said. And if it were ever to get out, he would deny it. So what motive would he ever have to share that? Common sense and logic. There's nothing to support this, sadly, at all. Until we get footage of the actual meeting, until everybody just falls down and says, you know what, this all took place and it's the truth. Here's the documentation. Here's the program names. Here's the private contractor. Those documents said 400 to 800 people are working on that project. Where are they? This was 2002. It was talked about. 1997, he was seeking access. So we're talking 20 to potentially 30 plus years ago that these people were working on the program. Not a single one wanted to do what Thomas Wilson did. Not a single one wanted to say adios to their security oath and start taking this out to the masses. Not a single one. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the real world juxtapositions that we can make between Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning and the leaks of highly classified, unacknowledged special access programs that we now know are in the open. The moment those went into the open, those responsible for bringing them into the open went into hiding. They went into a hole. They were prosecuted. They were thrown in jail. And yet, in this, for the last 19 plus years, since Dr. Stephen Greer has been talking about the idea and concept of a highly classified program, not a single thing has happened ever. And the story gets better with time. Notes come out. The story grows. People deny it, and they look for the attention. And by the way, I know some people look at those denials as saying some kind of admission that this is all true. I will end the television crazy theory that this is potentially an excerpt from a script with this. Every time I worked on a major television series, whether it be for History Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic Channel, Fox Home Entertainment, and quite a few other networks, I signed a non-disclosure agreement. If before that show aired and you asked me, any of you listening or watching, John, what did you work on yesterday? I couldn't tell you. I legally couldn't. In fact, I shot a television show last year before this whole pandemic craziness for a network that I still cannot tell you about because they haven't announced the show yet. That's my non-disclosure. It's not a security clearance and it's not a conspiracy. It's simply what happens in entertainment. So the next time somebody says, I have no comment, it's possibly because there's an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement that has nothing to do with a security clearance, but everything to do with a private sector entertainment program. And that is my crazy theory that I'll leave you with. I haven't heard that one before, but I can't get it out of my head because it is nearly identical to that Groundhog Day script and the format and somebody who wants to make a break.